Hello? Fuck. Huh? Got dots.
You got dots, but...
More dots.
Alright, we'll just talk into it normal for a second, see if you get normal looking waveforms. I know, but just...
Chris.
Okay.
Chris. Hi there, Chris. It's me. Do you see normal looking waveforms like that a normal person would leave?
We're really on Blade today.
We're off Blades.
We're off Blade. Let's get on Blade, guys.
It's June 3rd, 2015.
This is Idle Thumbs 213. I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Danielle Riendo.
I'm James Spafford.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
And I'm Nick Brecken.
And I'm Sean Vanneman. Oh, what? Just kidding.
It's a fiver.
Welcome back, Nick.
Thanks.
Been a while.
Welcome, Nick.
Sean's not actually here, if anyone was confused. Sean's on assignment.
Mm-hmm.
It is a fiver.
It is a fiver.
A two-many-er.
Yeah.
We're full.
Yeah.
We've got a full house today, which is a great thing, having a full house, because I played a game about a teenager, which is sort of like Full House.
what?
There were a lot of teenagers.
There's an entire... There is essentially now an entire genre of games set in a house. But no.
I played a game based on the upcoming Full House sequel, Fuller House.
Mm-hmm. I thought you were going
Which
to
is really about the kid in
Yeah, I know.
No,
I
Fuller
thought you
House
were
is
just...
actually an announced thing.
Fuller, go easy on the Pepsi.
What?
Don't worry about me.
I won't. But there is a Full House sequel coming out on Netflix, a
There
TV
is.
series sequel.
It is.
Yeah.
I can't.
And it is called Fuller House. It's called Life is Strange, actually. So let's talk about that game and not
called
about
Life is
Fuller House
Strange.
in any capacity.
Full House is like the opposite of Gone Home. It's like the anti-Gone
That's
Home
true.
game.
That was an empty house.
Too many people.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Anyway, I heard Life was Strange.
Yeah, it's a cool video game about a teenager. It's kind of like, okay, it's Square Enix making an indie game. It's kind of their...
That isn't possible.
That doesn't
thing.
make sense.
That's a contradiction in
It's
terms.
what they want to make. They want to make a smaller story-based adventure game based on the life of a teenager. She's at this prestigious academy. She just turned 18. She's a senior in high school. And she can travel in time. She can turn back time. If she doesn't like an action that she took, she doesn't like the things that she's done, she just rewinds time and she can do it again.
So this was made by a company called Don't Nod Entertainment.
Yes.
Whose previous game was Remember Me.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
They're a French developer.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're a French developer, and I think the writer of the game was American, but it's hard to tell sometimes. The writing is...
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's got any idiomatic translation. It just
Yeah.
feels like it has really weird dialogue choices.
Maybe
a lot of
some of the
time.
dialogue didn't quite... Yeah,
Right.
didn't quite fit.
Just like the lingo of it is a bit
Yeah,
strange.
it's very adults writing teens, because just about everybody in this game is a teenager. It's, teens in this town. It's in like it's not Portland, but it's some
The
Oregon
Pacific
town.
Northwest-y
Yeah, Pacific
kinda,
Northwest.
yeah. Mhm.
There's a mystical
That's what
thing
everyone
happening.
loves.
Everybody loves that.
Twin
but
Peaks came out, and in the decades since, that's the go-to.
Everybody's been all about
For
it.
mystery.
Mysterious happenings. Go to the Northwest.
It's a subtle Alan Wake crossover, I imagine.
Yes. Well, it might as well be, honestly. Like, it's very, the supernatural shit is happening, and it's
Right.
all about characters and weird writing. So it's,
What do you like? What is the sort of just basic loop of this game? Like, what do you do?
I mean, it's an adventure game. It's
Yeah.
a 3D game, but it's adventure game puzzles and sort of dialogue choices, and
Is it shot like a Telltale game, or is it actually
more
like,
like-
is it or like Tomb Raider when it's like a 3D adventure game that I imagine is third person? Is it like fixed rail cameras,
Yeah,
or
like-
is it like butt cam like Gears of War?
Oh.
Like
No, it's if you picture like Heavy Rain or something like that.
Okay.
It plays very similarly to that, but then because of the time travel stuff that comes along, that's more like Walking Dead stuff that that you guys worked on. But imagine that you've made a choice and someone's really pissed off, then you can be like, fine, I'll see what happens if I do it the other way around.
weird.
Yeah, it is weird. It kind of works though, and
It does. I like it.
Yeah.
I like how goofy it is too. A lot of people have complained about the writing, but I kind of dug it. I kind of liked the weird, goofy writing. Like there's a moment where, it's all very teen, and there's kind of every stereotype
all very teen.
of teen. Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
There's one moment. There's a lot of like little zingers that are perfectly placed for a weird atmosphere. Like it doesn't make sense that a teenager in America in 2015 would say this, but it makes sense that this weird northwestern town where supernatural crazy shit is happening, and it also feels kind of like the 90s. It works for that. There's one moment where the girl is a photographer, and she is in the very first scene. She's in class, in a photography class, and they're talking about selfies or something. And then later on, there's her rival
Wait,
teen.
have you played this, Nick?
No.
Oh, okay.
Her rival teen, the mean girl
Right.
of the group,
Yeah.
kind of does something mean to her, and then she says, "Go fuck your selfie." And it's just like,
Oh no, this is yes, I saw
perfect.
that.
It's
That's the
just
one thing I know about
perfect.
this game is that line exists in that game.
Wait, so in what way do you mean it's perfect?
It just fits this crazily heightened.
That sounds like a badly
Mysterious-
localized joke.
yeah,
I mean,
that's what it feels like to
The
me.
game is not set in the 90s, though. The game is set in
No, it just
like the
feels-
modern.
No one would say selfie, let alone go fuck your selfie in the 90s. So it's obviously set in the
It is
21st
set in
century.
20
Well, I know, but you were saying 90s.
It's set in 2015.
Yeah.
It just feels very. She has a friend who likes to smoke weed and has
No one does that now.
stepfather. No, okay.
Especially not the Pacific
Yeah,
Northwest.
Let me take this
Completely.
picture. This is how it's so 90s it hurts. She goes to her other friend's room where they hang out, and one friend is like smoking weed, and they're
And
playing
Courtney Love
this
is there.
record. Yeah, it's basically like that. They're playing this record that's like grunge. She has all these posters on her walls that are just so grunge. She dresses really grunge. Like it's very, very. It feels 90s. Like this room would have felt perfectly in place and gone home.
So
Like this looks like Sam's
right.
room, but a little more extreme grunge.
I feel like this is a thing that happens often with European developers, and for some reason I want to say French developers in particular, who set games in the United States and are like really entranced by their understanding of the particular culture they've chosen through film and television specifically, and really like overplay
The
all of those
romanticized version
touchdowns.
of
Absolutely,
American
yeah.
youth in the Northwest is grunge culture, so that's
Yeah.
probably what you're going to pick and play up the like.
Right, I know. I just mean that often
I'm agreeing with you.
yeah, often that stuff is like pushed to like an oddly conspicuous degree. I have noticed. It's
So, like, if a game was set in New York, everyone would spray paint subway cars and listen to hip hop.
Pretty much, yeah. Like
Well-
it's a little over the top.
I mean,
you
New
know?
York is a funny example because the Rockstar games are kind of that, but a little bit different in that the Hauser brothers actually live in New York.
Yeah.
And those games are intentionally, I suppose, over the top. But like, I'm trying to think of all the various examples I'm thinking of. Like anything David Cage has worked on falls into this category. Alan Wake, I feel like, falls into this category.
Yeah.
There's
Deadly Premonition is the most hilarious. Like,
Yeah, Deadly Premonition.
That's like
Oh,
90 degrees
absolutely.
off axis of the same problem.
Yeah, that's another weird one with like mitigating circumstances, kind of, but also sort of.
But the same thing is true the other way around, surely. Like, if you're going to set
Oh,
a
I'm
game
sure.
in France, then it's going to be like this hilarious parody of France.
Oh, I would say if you're going to set a game in Europe, then
England,
definitely the Pope and some king are in the Illuminati. Like that's confirmed to be.
Touch them. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, in general, I think games maybe have like a subtlety problem when it comes to games that are like historical period games, essentially, whether they be like historical periods from the past or whether they be like just other settings, even set in the modern era. Games, it seems that very frequently developers who choose particular settings for their games that aren't ones that they themselves are from, like, really just cannot stop themselves from just like cramming
Yeah.
full of just like notable names and phrases and places and like cultural artifacts, like way beyond the point that people living in those times would be constantly like shouting things to each other.
Yeah.
So okay, Life is
Yeah.
Strange. It's there's a mystery that's happening. Is that like you're trying to figure out what's going on, or is it like the Goonies where something is very apparently going on and you're just trying to stop it? Like what?
There's
you know?
a mystery. There's
Yeah.
a missing girl.
Yeah, there's a missing
Okay.
but there's
You know,
also
it's
a
not
bigger
Laura
thing.
Twist.
Parker,
Twist.
but there's a missing girl. Nobody knows what's happened to her. She's 19 or something, and she's one of your friends' closest friends. And you all of a sudden woke up with these powers as well. She hasn't had these powers her whole life. She just has them now after having
Right.
a
But
nightmare.
that bit's important because
Yes.
you have a nightmare that is about a ginormous tornado that is going to come and destroy this little town in like 3 days time or whatever it is. I can't remember, like a week from now. So that's actually the bigger thing, is that the reason that life is strange, I guess, is not only because you can rewind time, but as the story progresses, weird stuff kind of starts happening, like weird eclipses and stuff. And so these weird things.
Jake is making a
Yeah,
face like,
there's like this that's more of like an undercurrent that there is, in the same way that Donnie Darko has that kind of weird, the knowledge that the world is going to end in a certain amount of time, but they're still going to school.
My other question about this, so then it is sort of a like Telltale or David Cage style adventure game with that as the premise. The rewind time thing, is that literally just there for a Prince of Persia Sands of Time sort of, I wish I had made a different choice, or does it have any sort of Majora's Mask type things or anything where like, is there a thing, do they use it so that you mechanically are intended to play forward through a certain branch until you've learned a piece of information that would then help you to rewind 20 minutes back in time, like go somewhere else, and like Groundhog Day.
Like the Last Express.
Yeah.
I guess that's how the Last Express is. I always felt like that's not how the Last Express is supposed to work, but that's how it does work.
That's how it does work, but it's not narratively how.
Like in Groundhog Day, it doesn't quite work that way either. But Bill Murray knows,
I know what you mean. He
by
keeps that
observing
knowledge.
different branches of reality, the way that he can then back up and play the optimal one, where he like manages to sleep with every woman in the town, or saves 100 people from dying, or whatever.
So to put that question another way, I get. Well, this is not exactly what you're asking, but I'm going to ask. So jumping off of that. Does she remember things?
Jumping off of my unanswered question, you're going to ask a different question.
You can answer both.
She does.
I know.
Okay, so but that ends up answering.
It's not quite as big.
Right, so she remembers all things that have happened.
In which case, the answer to your question is yes. Yours. That is how it's
but it's more in like individual scenes. So you can play out like a whole scene to the end and rewind. So you could have a conversation about something, draw out some information about them, rewind time, use that information against them.
Yeah, I like that.
And then they'll be like, how did you know that? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or you can, change something that happened because you saw that.
That feels like a legitimate use for that mechanic,
as
works
opposed to
just
kind of neatly.
Try again.
It's kind of cool.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, because if it's just mistake correction, then it's just a save
episode
game.
so far.
Oh, you've only played the first episode?
I'm playing the second one tonight, but I
how caught up are you, Spaff? Because there's 3 out so
I
far,
played all 3 that are out. So maybe when you've played more, we can talk more, because the way it evolves is really interesting, and the way that the powers... Yeah, we should talk about it more. I just want to go back to the weird language thing, because I just want to say...
I just want to say, go fuck yourself.
All the stuff they do, it actually works really well, and obviously it's hard for me to comment on this not being American, but I know about this society, so it feels like it works anyway, even though they've chosen the kind of grungy thing.
Sure.
And the thing that doesn't sit well with me is every now and again... they just use a piece of dialogue that I just don't believe that she would use.
Right.
Like for one instance that you haven't got to, Chloe and what's her face have broken into a thing, and they're like, they're basically saying we should get out of here. But she says we should bubble hearth and get out of here. What? Which is a World of Warcraft reference, right? Yeah, that's a very specific World of Warcraft reference. And it's like, sure, she maybe played World of Warcraft. She's an 18-year-old girl, like that thing. But it's not apparent. Like, there's no point in this where you think, oh, she's a video games player.
Right.
And there's a whole ton of weird things
Korean
like that.
soap opera where characters suddenly just randomly say, this isn't StarCraft.
That's also a thing that I feel like, okay, so this is true in any kind of fictional form, I think. The kind of reference you have to be absolutely most careful and conservative about is the one that your work belongs to. Mm-hmm. So in a movie, you have to be really careful about your characters making references to films and actors, because they're being delivered in a film by actors. So, like, doesn't mean you can't talk about
movies. It's like a character in a movie being like, jump cut to, and then it jump cuts. Like, okay, fuck you.
Exactly. You have to be really careful about that stuff because it can come off as cute. And, again, like, not that people in a video game can't talk about video games, not that people in movies can't talk about movies, but you just have to, like, have a slightly higher threshold for, like, what is allowed to get in there than you can, like, talking about a movie in a video game or talking about a video game in a movie. Like, those are a little bit easier to get away with because there's you're less risk of crossing the wires,
Yeah, so it's times like that where you just kind of, I don't know, it just gets a bit jarring for me, and you're like, oh, this was written by a person who isn't an 18-year-old girl.
But Danielle, you like
it's
it.
probably
You
a video games developer, right? But that doesn't, like, on top of that, it's fine. Like, it doesn't matter. I see beyond that, and it doesn't...
Sure. I think the writing works for what they're doing in general. There are definitely lines like that. I love those lines. Maybe this is because I'm weird and I've just, I expect a certain thing from a game like this, and this is not giving me that. It's giving me some weird, heightened, goofy, I don't know why, but it keeps reminding me of Heathers, that movie from like the late 80s with what's-her-face, Winona Ryder, which is just a really off-kilter, bizarrely spirited teen movie from the 80s that is not like any other teen movie from the 80s. I mean, because there's murder in it, but anyway.
And they make that extended analogy to Mario 1 World 1 2
Yeah,
in
they
it.
do. Well, you know how it is.
But yeah, overall, I've enjoyed it enough to play.
Yeah.
All through the
How many
episodes.
chapters is it supposed to be? How many?
I think
There will be
Five.
5. There are 3 so far.
Classic.
Man,
Yeah.
did you notice that she's
Classic fiver.
the nosiest character
She
in
is!
any video game ever?
That's saying a lot because characters in video games
Yeah.
are basically expected to be the nosiest motherfuckers. You can
But seriously, and I know, but you could rewind time. Maybe you would become super nosy because you
Yes.
could be like, I'm going to look through the shit, and when they notice that I'm doing it, I'll just rewind time. And be like, fuck you, I read your diary. But like, you literally are reading people's diaries, and there's one
they're
moment when
sitting there,
you're in a girl's room, and she's sitting on the bed. There's a scrunched up note in the trash can or whatever.
Yes.
You look at it, you like get it, read it in front of her.
Yeah.
And so just go fine. And it's like, this is normal. And then you're doing it constantly.
It's amazing. In that same room that you're talking about, there's a pregnancy test.
Yes.
That you
And
can
you
look
just
at and be
take
like,
it out of the
is this
trash
a
can.
pregnancy test? And like look at it and check it out, and she gets mad at you, and then it's just like, I rewound times. It's fine. I can do that.
You rewind, can
You rewind time to say
and then
congratulations.
You're like, so you keeping it? I don't know. It's really,
Jesus. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Just-
really.
How would you know
it's-
that? Oh, I read it from the crumpled up note in your trash can.
Yeah.
It's a very.
That I wrote 2 days ago.
I did.
I wrote 2 days ago.
This person's just going around populating all of the environments with just like random shit
what
that
if
they
this-
then find.
what if
and you
this
go,
game-
oh, I found the clue
Look
to
at
the
that.
What if by the end of episode 5 you find out that this is basically Memento, and
Oh man.
you realize that your character has been creating the entire mystery?
That would be
What if
would
you
truly
find out that you have to
justify-
rewind time and erase the mystery of the entire thing?
Create a paradox.
You guys played that game where you could rewind time?
Life is Strange?
It's a cool game.
Cool. Well, that sounds interesting. That sounds much more interesting than I kind of had any like. I just hadn't heard a lot of that stuff. I don't know why, but for some reason I just wasn't aware of a lot of that about this game.
I was
So that's
wary
cool.
of it at first because it seems to be something that, like, I don't know how to put this properly, but the crowd on Twitter who are sort of like the neo Endearment crowd, the people who really like cute things,
Oh,
sort
yes,
of got their
I know
hooks into
the
it,
crowd you
which
mean.
is a crowd I'm definitely
People
part
who are
of
playing that
often.
cat butt game?
Yeah, like,
Right.
I mean, my girlfriend is part of this crowd. It's cool. It's
Yeah.
a crowd I also have a lot of affection for.
I have nothing bad to say about that cat butt game, by the way.
Neko is something cute. Yeah. But
Okay,
things
actually-
like that,
Right.
people seem to
Uh-huh.
really dig it in that crowd. And I was like, well, I like some things from that, but a lot of like teen obsessed things I'm not as into.
Right.
I'm not really into anime. A lot of anime is about
Right.
teenagers,
Right.
that sort of thing. But yeah, it really endeared itself to me.
That's another thing the main character is into, though. I'm pretty sure he's into.
Anime?
Oh, at one
I
point,
wouldn't be surprised.
At one point, she says, "Oh yeah, you should come around and we should watch Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within."
Oh my god, that's right.
Such a weird choice
She's
for
like,
a
I don't care
movie.
that
Let's
nobody
bubble
else likes
heart over to
this
my
movie.
house and watch Spirits Within.
Well, of course.
Got a Dreamcast?
That's like, let's watch Squaresoft films.
Of
Final
course
Fantasy.
it is, but like,
Yeah,
Let's do that, actually. Wow. Blade opens. Like,
yeah. It's
yeah,
Jay
I
Allard
guess.
walks in. Hey guys, seen Mario recently? So speaking of games that crowd probably likes, I feel like
yes.
you
This
have
is
another.
an appropriate.
wait, are you going to talk about the Japanese cat collecting game?
No,
Okay, I feel like maybe we should talk about that for
I mean
2
sure,
seconds.
go for it.
Alice
Yeah,
loves
go
that
for
game
it.
so much.
Is that
Yeah, my girlfriend's
Is
super
that
obsessed with it
Neko
too.
Atsume? Is that
Yes.
the name of that game? Okay, my girlfriend is playing the crap out of this game. As
It's
is
all
like
the girlfriend's game,
Half the
apparently.
people who I play or who I know on Twitter, and I said something about it, sort of use it pejoratively earlier.
On this podcast?
Neo Endearment.
Minutes ago, I said that people who are playing that cat collecting game when talking about the
yeah,
people on Twitter. I don't know how much to say about this game. It's a very, very, very free to play game from Japan, wherein
Very, very, very free to play?
It's as free to play as it
really
gets.
free.
wherein you have it starts with a backyard, and then you use fish, which is the in-game currency, to buy toys, which you put in your yard, and you buy food, And if you have nice toys and food, cats will come and play with them if you put the game away for a few minutes. So you'll sort of set up a toy and then come back and watch see a cute cartoon of a cat rolling around with the ball, and then you can double tap it and take a picture of it and collect it. And then different cats and different toys show up. Oh, if a cat enjoyed your toys
Is this
or
the
food,
game that looks like MS Paint in a good way?
A little bit.
it's
yeah.
very
Maybe.
thick
I
line,
don't mean that
primary
negatively.
colors.
Yeah,
it looks like the best
'cause
MS
it's,
Paint art.
It's aliased, right? Like it's.
I don't know about that because I only ever see it on a Retina phone display. Like it looks
okay.
crisp as hell on a Retina phone, so maybe it is.
The screenshots I've seen on Twitter
But
look like the nicest possible MS Paint art that someone could do.
And
It's kind of simple. And
if a cat
Again, I mean
if
that
a-
positively.
If a cat enjoys your toy, it leaves you fish, which you can then use to buy more things, and the cycle
Yeah.
continues. So Dana started playing this game over the weekend, and immediately is now destroyed by it to the point that we were woken up at 3 a.m. this morning by an actual cat in our house who jumped up on the bed, and I heard this
And was playing
god damn it, why? And she threw a pillow and a cat left, and I got up and went to the bathroom because I was awake in the middle of the night. And then when I came back, she was awake because she was excited that being up at 2 a.m. meant that she would have a chance to catch a rare night cat that was a different cat.
A night cat.
She was like, oh, maybe I could catch a different cat that went by during the day. I was like, oh, what? You're mad at your actual cat for being awake and then excited that maybe a new cat is in your yard at 2 a.m.
Oh man,
that's delightful.
that's good.
Anyway, this game is also... It's easy to understand because it has pictures and stuff, but you still kind of need a primer because it's not localized.
Interesting.
All
Okay.
in
Fully
Japanese.
Japanese.
Wow.
It's just
okay.
in Japanese.
Yeah,
but
right.
internet people are playing it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It is really cute.
Yeah.
It's
No, I mean, it's
definitely-
clearly
Some of the
is.
cats are really weird as well. They have little costumes and like a fat king cat and stuff.
Yeah.
So they get
Good
progressively
name.
weirder.
Fat King Cat.
Fat king cat.
Anyway, if you want your life destroyed by a semi-impenetrable Japanese iOS free-to-play cat photographing and observing game, just search
I
for
do.
iOS cat collecting Japan game and you
Yeah.
will find it.
Yeah.
But it is called Neko Atsume, I
Oh,
think.
it's perfect.
Sorry to divert from that after making fun of it for half a second because I realized that it has now become integrated into my home life.
Yes, in a very special way. It
Yeah.
interrupts your nights.
It's superseded our actual cats. Anyway, sorry, Chris, you were going to talk about a different game that wasn't.
I mean, I wasn't going to, but Danielle probably was.
I was.
Oh, okay.
Another game my girlfriend got obsessed with and wrote about recently, in fact. So I was playing, I'll get there. I was playing The Witcher 3, which I've been doing a lot of. Played
Right.
another 40 hours.
And you're really
of
into it still.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm making videos on it. It's a delightful time. And really enjoying it, but again, I'll probably just talk about it once I beat it or whatever. But I was playing that game, and my girlfriend said, honey, come here, can you take a dick pic?
As she does usually all the time.
I'm a cis lady. I don't have a dick, so I was like, okay, this must be a game. Something is up here, clearly. And I came over, and she was playing Cobra Club, which is Robert Yang's latest game. Robert Yang is a gay dude who he used to be EA for a really long time, and now he makes sort of queer erotica games.
He used to do a level design column for Rock Paper Shotgun. I don't know if he still does.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a while, but
he was
really
he was
smart.
in the level design in a day workshop at GDC this year, though, I think.
He's also been working on this game for quite a while. I feel like he was learning Unity with it. Like, I remember I follow him on Twitter and have for a
Yeah, he
while.
was just posting a bunch of just
yeah,
hilarious
and-
naked guy
and,
models.
Yeah, when he started, he was just posting all these models of dudes but there was no context for what it was.
Yeah.
So it could have been literally anything. And then it turns out, it could have been literally
turns out
absolutely
that this
anything.
is what it was.
Of course,
Well,
the
it
thing
was-
that is actually the shortest point from
Right,
A
it
to
could have been literally anything because when we were first doing grayboxing for Firewatch, our scale reference human model was just an onyx stone naked man who was just
Right.
glistening in our sunlight model.
And that's exactly what all the shit that he kept posting looked like.
looked like,
So
yeah,
I'm
it looked like.
this could be anything. It could be a game about this guy. It could be a game that has a statue in it. It could be a game where this is just scale reference
Right,
for
no, it's
buildings.
actually a game about naked guys.
This is a Dick's game.
Yeah, it was
So.
very
There are not enough games about dicks.
I mean, yeah, there are fairly few, probably.
it's a
I mean, that's probably not actually
there
true.
are mods.
Yeah, maybe.
yeah,
Probably
yeah.
lots.
There are a few that have the attention of the games
Yeah, this
press.
is
and
this is
that we all
probably
talk about.
This is probably a more
there are probably a lot of games that have dicks in them that are not about
Yeah.
dick pics, for instance.
Yes.
Yes.
I was thinking
So-
Skyrim mods
so
that
what's
Kara
the-
has.
So what's the deal
written
with this
about.
game?
So this game is actually very interesting. I mean, it is certainly an amusing game. It is
Mm-hmm.
literally about taking a good, inviting, attractive picture of your character, who's a dude, with his anatomy out for all to see. The point is that it's supposed to be about sort of like dick pic culture in the gay community, like dating and, dating by app and chatting with people and sort of showing off your stuff, basically. Which, if it weren't made by a gay dude who's making this about sort of this culture, I would be like, okay, what is this? But there's an interesting twist to it. There's an interesting commentary about it. The way he's described it is he's made sort of games about gay culture before. And about BDSM and things like that before. And people on YouTube have been like, sort of like very pubescent dudes playing the game on YouTube have been like, ew, gross, look at this. And he's making this as a reaction to that. He's like, the proper reaction is to be gayer at them, is sort of the way he put it in the article my girlfriend wrote about it, which I thought was cool and interesting. Like, he's very dedicated to making things that are personal and about privacy and about, things he cares about, which I think is cool. The whole game is chatting with people and taking dick pics and trying to make an attractive picture. You're basically, you're putting the camera in a specific place. You're putting filters on things. You're sort of trying to, make things look nice and make things look inviting, basically.
There's a slider to have a more full erection.
That's true.
I saw a GIF of this.
It can go
There's
up
an
and it
erection
can go down.
slider.
It can go up or down.
Yeah.
Once you unlock the fuller controls, you can actually change the size of the dick in question. You can do all sorts
Apparently,
of
it
things.
also has Instagram filters that
It
you
does.
can apply, so that's
It has
good.
like the nice purple filter, if you want to get all fancy. A lot of this
Artistic.
it's very artistic. A lot of this was sort of based on the ethos of a Tumblr, not a Tumblr. It's a proper blog, I think. Maybe it's on Tumblr.
No,
Whatever.
it is
Not a
Tumblr.
Tumblr.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Critique My Dick Pic, which
Right.
sounds hilarious, and it often is, but it's actually this really inclusive, really wonderful, like trans folks are invited to sort of take pictures, and the entire point is to take a tasteful or interesting picture of yourself naked and to make it look artistic and to make it look nice. It's not necessarily just to be gross or to just sort of show something, but it's to actually like be very body positive and like, it's a very welcoming environment. And I actually really like this blog, which I know sounds crazy as like the queer woman talking about the dick pic blog, but I actually find that really nice. I think it's a nice thing about online culture. Well, it's a nice thing that could only exist in online culture. Right. But instead of being gross and instead of being body shaming, it's inclusive and wonderful and nice.
It's amazing that a website that is based around that would actually be super inclusive, because the ones that are usually based around that are completely opposite, where,
really shamey.
hot or not or whatever is completely all based in the opposite of that, and just like being like, no, ugly, and
like
doing
you're
that.
gross or
And then
small
other ones,
or whatever.
like rate my poo or whatever, that kind of shit from the days of internet past. But that's a thing.
I remember Rate My Poo.
Right, that's a very old website. But like, maybe that's an amazing, welcoming site as well. Maybe everyone's like, yes, that is a wonderful poo.
Good job.
Good job. Your anus
did
must be very
well.
shapely. It's such a
Shapely
beast.
anus.
Maybe it is. I don't know. I've never
Produce such a beast.
Yeah,
Like
whatever.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Top-notch poo. Like, so, I don't know, maybe. But I get the feeling that they are not about that. So it's cool that it has an amazing community around it.
Yeah, it's people who are nice.
Cool. Well, you guys want to take a break?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks to Harry's for sponsoring this episode of Idle Thumbs. Harry's provides high-quality shaving goods at an affordable price. Yes, if you go to harrys.com and enter the coupon code THUMBS at checkout, you can get $5 off your first purchase. You should do that. I actually have a Harry's shaving kit. They sell one for $15. It comes with a razor, moisturizing shaving cream, and 3 razor blades. And I was using that last week. And I really like their shaving cream as opposed to the gel. I've gotten into the cream style recently, and I really enjoyed it. It's nice. It's a good set of razor stuff.
Is it Harry's or Harry's?
It's the name, HARRYS.com with promo code THUMBS.
Oh.
Excellent.
Yep.
I really hope that people all enjoyed that ad with the after image of Cobra Club firmly in their mind.
It's good for all your manscaping needs.
Mm-hmm, maybe. Mainly your face, I would
Mainly
say,
for your
with
face.
these products.
I
Yes.
see.
Yes. yeah, harrys.com, promo code thumbs, get $5 off. I like it a lot. Thanks, Harry's. Video game. Thanks also to MeUndies. As you surely know by now, a provider of high-quality underwear. Another thing that I have also.
And another
like,
Cobra Club related item as well.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, what's MeUndies, Chris?
MeUndies, they sell underpants, T-shirts, just your range of sort of basic undergarment clothing in a wide variety of colors and patterns. They have a monthly special limited time style each month that is cool.
It's called the Cobra Club.
It's
not called that.
not called that. But they do have patterns ranging from the simple and tasteful to the outrageous
And tasteful.
and even
also
more tasteful.
Tastefully outrageous.
Yeah. Yep. They're high quality. They're you can just tell when you buy them. They're not like the just sort of pack of underwear you get off the rack at the drugstore. They're actually nice, high quality underwear, and you can really feel it. And it does. I do find increasingly that is, I have an appreciation for that I don't think I did in my younger years. So if you go to MeUndies.com/thumbs, you can get 20% off and free shipping.
Excellent.
Yeah. Thanks, MeUndies. Video game. All right. So you want to talk about Jurassic Park when we get there?
Yeah, I don't care what Nick wants to talk about. We're back and we're talking about it.
Welcome to Idle Thumbs. Nick,
So I actually had something I wanted to talk about before I talk about this stupid game.
Go
what do you
for
want
it.
to talk about?
So while I was gone, I was just sitting here thinking about it.
Let's talk about FIFA. No.
No, but I was in London, and I hung out with Ben Andek, who was a
old school thumb.
old school thumb guy,
Awesome.
and we got to talking, and we're talking about idle thumbs as you do, and he mentioned that nobody can actually decide amongst ourselves who actually came up with the name Idle Thumbs.
yeah.
Is this true? I wanted to, if anybody wanted to stake a claim to it, I was curious
I'm
because
pretty
he
sure
couldn't
it's
remember.
Ashby.
Oh, Alex Ashby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would believe that.
That seems like an Alex Ashby name.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh man. Because before Idle Thumbs started, we actually had a let's build an Idle Thumbs website forum
The secret forum,
that
the
I-
wizard forum.
that I think that I hosted on my website, and I might still have that forum, in which case I could go back and find it, but I bet that thing's been blown up 3 times.
the database might just weirdly be sitting there.
Yeah, I'll look.
Not
Oh man, it
accessed
could have
by
been the
anything.
SQL database.
Yeah, exactly. If your website has had continuous hosting since then, it probably is.
I can't remember, but whatever.
Yeah.
Where did the name Idle Thumbs come from? Who could say? Probably Alex Ashby, who I bet very few people who listen to this podcast remember. He was on 2 GDC episodes in 2008. He introduced all the Idle Book Club episodes that we did.
Yeah.
And he wrote for the site for years before it was a podcast.
I was gonna say now I kind of want Alex to do a history of Idle Thumbs, a short series or something, just in his
Beautiful.
I mean, the most self-indulgent
Amazing.
thing for us to ever publish.
And then these people wrote stuff and got in fights in the staff forum. And then they stopped writing. And then they started again.
Well-
and then they started a podcast, which they stopped.
And now
Ben
they
told
won't
me a
shut up.
story that's
Are
cool.
we just back newly now? Or is that all
That's
to
fine.
be burned? Okay.
So now that that's out of the way,
You should do the welcome thing again, because that was great.
Welcome to Idle Thumbs.
we were... because it's Jurassic Park time.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't care about that game for a second
Oh,
because we have to
all right.
talk about the Jurassic World trailer that is terrible and that has John Hammond sound-alike voiceover in it.
Oh no, I didn't see
that
this yet.
says "Welcome to Jurassic World" in it.
Oh, barf.
And
They
Oh,
also
no.
they pumped up
I'm worried.
his accent 10% too much.
it's just Scrooge McDuck saying
yeah.
"Welcome to Jurassic World." It's out of control.
Oh, God.
I wish that it had been the Super Nintendo voice, then going "Welcome to Jurassic World."
Dr. Spatzo.
God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've talked about how unimpressive that moment in the Super Nintendo Jurassic Park game was before, but it is the worst. And now it's super impressive because you're like, wow, Super Nintendo could talk. But anyway, so
I still played a lot of that game.
oh yeah, it's like
It's great.
It's a top-down Jurassic Park game that then has first-person. I know how to read a schematic segments. It's
Right.
basically Ninja Turtles 1 NES game,
Yeah.
but for Super Nintendo and with dinosaurs.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Anyway, no, I played. for no reason at all, I played Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, which
Excellent.
there are a few things to say about this
Which
game.
one is that?
So it's weird. A lot of people don't know about this game.
I don't know if I do. I find it
very interesting to me because
Yeah, like what
when
era
I was a
is
kid,
this?
this is 2002, 2003.
Okay.
Probably shortly after Jurassic Park 3, I guess. I don't know. I was like 2001.
So this is like
2002.
GameCube, original Xbox,
original. I think it was original Xbox,
PS2,
PC.
PS2 era though. That's the era that sort of.
It's actually one of the rarest console games you can look for. It's very.
I don't think you
difficult to
qualify
find
as
copies
a
for
kid
this.
in 2013 in this year.
No. I was going to start another story, which is to say that
okay.
it's strange to me that not many people know about this game because one of the defining moments for me as a video game player, a PC gamer, was sitting there in my basement in 1992, I guess, playing the original.
Probably.
Playing the original SimCity building an island out of just you know where I'm going with this, Jake.
Yeah, just build Island Nublar and then create disasters. Right?
Yep, you build the Nublar and then you take the electric.
First you build the Nublar.
First you build the Nublar.
Step one.
Step 1, build the Nublar.
I think I've talked about this before, but I would take
Step
the
1, build Nublar.
welcome to Nublar. So I would
What if for the Jurassic World trailer they got a sound alike of Hammond to say,
Yes.
"Welcome to Isla Nublar." Fans are gonna love this deep cut.
Why is it always that same island?
We don't know if Jurassic World is built
It
on
might not be Nublar,
but
who
I hope
knows?
that it is. I hope that they fall through the
Surely
floor.
it is.
They're like, this is built on top of another Jurassic Park, and they're in like the ruins of original Jurassic
Just the
Park.
skeleton of John Hammond.
Yeah,
He's the one that they hang from the ceiling and then press.
Mr. Arnold. Same hand is there.
He's
Mr. Hammond.
His skeleton is hanging from the roof like the
Hands
T-Rex
on hands
one,
on hands.
except his arm isn't there. They're like, why is his arm missing from his skeleton? Oh, thank God it's you.
what? So you built the Nublar in SimCity, and then you probably unleashed the Godzilla on it. or
No.
whatever.
First,
no.
step 2, you take
You gotta take it step by step.
the electrical wires that you can build in SimCity, and you make fences out of those. Okay, then you place your administrative buildings, and then you unleash Bowser. Because I was playing the
Super
NES
Nintendo.
version, Super Nintendo version. And he is
Classic.
your Tyrannosaurus Rex that then destroys the island. I would do that like repetitively, just wishing for a game that didn't exist, which is actually Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, which is a theme park clone with Jurassic Park theming.
You mean the game theme park?
Yes, sorry. And so here's the thing: it's
It's
really,
an exact clone of the theme park, Jurassic Park.
With Bowser.
Part of Universal's Islands of Adventure in Orlando.
Bingo, Bowser DNA.
That was a shitty Mr. DNA.
Yeah, that was-
fine. Fuck you. You do a better one.
I can't.
Bowser DNA.
got stuck in the sand. Anyway, let's not do that. So I didn't really want to say a lot about this game other than it exists. It's actually, for what it is, it's pretty well done and frustratingly so because for 2003, like the fidelity of animation in this game is actually pretty impressive. Like watching the dinosaurs. So you build, you like autogen an island. You place the Jurassic Park entrance.
Can you get a prefab Nublar in there?
You can.
Can you get a prefab Jurassic Park 3 island?
You
Site
can get.
B
You
or whatever?
can.
Site
There's a
B.
Site B mode in the menu, Jake.
Oh my God.
And it's just
Or
no
Site B
fencing or anything.
Site
you
B
just
is Lost World, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you spawn dinos
right.
in, and then they just run around, and that's
Dinos.
that's all it is. It's just you fucking watch the dinosaurs. But so the game's actually pretty well done, except that eventually they just obviously ran out of money or something because the content there's just like a curve where you're really enjoying the experience and then there's just nothing left to do. There aren't any more things to research. If you play a theme park
You reach
game.
the executives at publisher thought no one would
Yep.
get past this point in the game.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a classic like 2002 point. And so
That is really true, actually.
it is.
That was sort of getting to the stage in time where.
No one will engage past this.
Well, it's when the point on the curve of like player demand for length of game and total content intersected with like content actually getting really expensive
Yeah.
to make.
Yeah.
And I think that also
in a way
intersected with the feeling that there was a huge mass audience that was waiting to buy these games, if only like also starting to reach its fever
Yeah.
pitch, I think.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
PS2, original Xbox
Yeah.
era.
So you ended up with a lot of games that just felt I would say even a game like Deus Ex, which is like one of my favorite games, and I think it's a great game, kind of suffers from that, of being just like a little too big for itself in way. You know what I mean? Like that was a feeling I remember really being in the air in that.
Oh, I think
that
Nick's
era.
talking about a slightly different thing,
I
which is building your game, and it has an endpoint potentially, or its systems can stretch past a certain point, but you feel like there's a point where the developers just thought that people would stop caring.
Sure, but I think but I think you can get there through either means. Like you can get there through like it's just you're stretched thin, or through someone didn't have faith in it or whatever. But
It's
I think
the desire to create an experience way bigger than it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think, yeah.
You can just feel like through the 2003 shitty level of graphics, like the developers just trying to make this game exceptional. Like you can just feel it. Like they did so much more than they needed to. For instance, like a Jurassic Park game, they used the original film score, which doesn't seem extraordinary, but I feel like that's pretty strange these days. Like you wouldn't expect that from a licensed property today. You would expect the just shitty synth version that somebody like hacked together or whatever.
Well, now you'd expect it again, right? But
not even now. No, I
hired
fully
Jeremy
anticipate.
Soule to go and get a huge orchestra to record a thing that only licensed one John Williams track.
okay,
Yeah,
sure.
I guarantee you the new Lego Jurassic Park or whatever is probably just
I mean, like at Telltale,
like, yeah.
and this is not a slight against the composer of that game, with my buddy Jared, but for those like for Back to the Future and the Jurassic Park games that they did, they were like, license the closing credits theme because that contains all of the melody lines to all the major themes, and write a score that is timed to this game that only uses a live instrument when we can absolutely afford it and that we own the complete rights to. And that, like, good luck. Sound exactly like Alan Silvestri with MIDI. Goodbye. Like, you know.
And I think they actually did end up recording original tracks for this, but they're actually really well done, and they seamlessly blend from the film score. Like, it's really well done. Anyway, yeah, the game is not really worth talking about at length. I was just really excited that, strangely enough, there's this like niche mod community that still exists for
Oh
it.
wow, of course there is.
awesome.
How
So
could
like
there
I
not be?
dug through the internet, and
They're putting all the Jurassic
finding.
World
Great.
spliced dinosaurs in, right?
No. No, they actually. So one of the sites is run by a guy called Nublar 7.
Oh man.
And they're like skin packs. Most of these things are tied to just making it more authentic with the canon and just basically making the whatever sound effects they did use less shitty. I don't know. The game is surprisingly good. They had like rudimentary AI, but it works pretty well. Like the sort of like herds of smaller dinosaurs behave properly. Like the larger dinosaurs go in and like fight each other, and like I don't know. The behavior in this game is actually really impressive for what it was. It strikes me as a game in terms of scope that you would put on like Facebook today or like on iOS, but that like the details of it would be so much shittier, for lack of a better word, today. And it made me kind of sad because I realized that was the case. That the idea of just like, oh, Jurassic Park theme park game. Yeah, it makes sense. Just make that and do as good of a job as you can with this amount of money. Like today would just be this really cynical version, which is just like
Free play.
fucking free play, like, you know, Farmville, Jurassic Park that just wouldn't quite feel the way it needs to feel for this to work. I don't know. It's not that great of a game, but I do like that when you hit escape, the sound effect is the like Nedry's computer like activating the fucking like, you know, the virus or whatever. I don't know. There are all these little details that just make
So
me really
when
happy.
you quit out, it's the end, like you're just starting the end
It's
of
like,
your
"Du-du-du."
park.
Yeah.
You're basically
Basically,
like,
yeah, exactly.
right, fuck this. And then but you don't get to see any of that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
do you know
Yeah.
that it's all
Oh, yeah, so
So they
No.
made a Jurassic Park theme park simulator that doesn't have
the actual,
the disaster as the disaster.
It does.
Like
so
it doesn't
does.
have it. It has one of your programmers has gone rogue and turned
that.
off all the fences.
Yeah, No, it doesn't have that.
How does it not have that? That's
It
amazing.
has a storm, and the dinosaurs test the fences, and they'll break out during a storm.
We
But
should
it doesn't
make
have Nedry.
we should
Doesn't
make a
have
mod
systemic
for that.
Nedry.
Basically, at the point that you got to where you're like, this game is not fun anymore.
Yeah.
That is the threshold when you should see
Yep.
all the electricity goes off, and then one fat guy gets in a Jeep and drives away, and it's like, now use the fucking last scraps of what you have to keep the dinosaurs from killing everyone and getting out of the mainland.
Climb in your Jeep and chase him down, and then hit a tree, and then...
Yes.
Yeah.
Dear Nublar 7, please make this mod as described.
You can do hilarious things in
please.
this game. I made a huge paddock and had like 1,000 herbivores in it, and then you can take like a safari Jeep track and like lay the track out so the Jeep will run through the space. And then you can like jump in the Jeep in first person and like drive around and look at your dinosaurs. Wow. But I had set the path such that it just kept running into the largest herd. And so when the Jeep stops, he just like honks. He goes like, burp, burp. And so like I was watching from a pull-out perspective, this fucking Jeep just honking at this like 60-ton brachiosaur. Like, get out of the way, buddy. It's just like the worst like Jurassic Park blooper.
Asshole.
Of, like Malcolm just like, you know, laying on the horn. Like, it's really dumb. Anyway, it's a good game.
That's delightful.
That's
10
Jurassic
out of
Park
10.
Operation Genesis for
Yeah.
PC and PlayStation 2. I looked it up.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Is this something
thought it
I
was on
could
Xbox.
buy on my PC?
It's really hard to find.
Okay.
It's really, really hard to find. I still have my disc.
Oh
So
wow.
I had to pull out my disc.
Ooh,
Dust it off.
Back to the discs.
whipped your disc out.
Yeah.
Took a quick.
Whip
Yeah.
out that Cobra Club disc. I
Anyway.
was going to ask,
Jake was
since we're
bored by that
talking
pun.
about Dennis Nedry and his adventures in a Jeep, did any of y'all see how there was a Texas news station or a news station, a professional news organization, tweeted out a picture of Dennis Nedry at the, looking upon the storm when he's lost on the cliff, Dennis Nedry, as like an actual news action photo of the Texas flooding.
Oh,
For real, this really happened.
See the can of Barbasol?
Yeah, the background says...
Did you guys see the fucking Barbasol ad that Barbasol put out like last week?
What? No.
It's like it has it's bizarre. So it's the shot from, I guess it's the shot from the original Jurassic Park of the Barbasol can on the ground, or maybe it's a shot from Jurassic World intended to evoke that. Like in the muddy ground with the rain and the water washing over it, and they have the like soft, tinkly piano solo version of the Jurassic Park theme, and it's got
It's like a lament for the Barbasol can.
It's played like a fucking elegy
God.
or something, and it's got a slow camera zoom on the Barbasol and the tinkly piano music, and I guess it's to just say it's like Barbasol is back in Jurassic World or something. It's the weirdest
Oh my god.
fucking piece of cross.
Man, what if
I've ever
Jurassic
seen.
World is somehow about that Barbasol can?
I think it
suspect-
actually is.
Yeah, I suspect
Wow.
that's
The
what's
same
or
old
something.
can.
So anyone who ever tries to extend the Jurassic Park story at this point obviously makes it about that Barbasol can, because that's
Yeah.
what that Telltale game was about.
Yeah.
Remember when that Telltale Jurassic Park game came out and Sean and I worked at Telltale, and then people complained that we made Jurassic Park jokes because we were promoting the Jurassic Park game?
really.
How incorrect those people were. Anyway, do you guys want to read reader mail, or are there more video games? Let's
God,
read
you know what I
reader
just
mail.
realized though before, like really quickly, the version of that game that I really want is just the like essentially Prison Architect. Like Prison Architect just reskinned with Jurassic Park is exactly what I want. Anyway, someone
That would be
make
cool.
that
Yeah,
skin.
that would be crazy.
Yeah.
That'd be a cool game.
Because there are like security cameras in Jurassic Park Genesis. Like they have the idea of it, just not this actual like systems. It's a bummer.
Does it have any like DNA, like
Yeah.
with DNA to make weird dinosaurs or something?
No, you
Like-
can't. Like,
That's Jurassic World Operation Genesis.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
The sequel.
Yeah. No, you dig up dinos.
Only for Facebook
You complete
and
a
iOS.
DNA strand. The more you complete
Is there a
it,
mini game?
It's full of holes.
Is it
You
a
gotta-
mini
you
game?
gotta
that
fill
you
them.
play?
you film.
Yeah.
Oh.
You
No,
just
there's no
slam
mini
frogs in
game where
there.
you like use a VR headset to like, chunk code in. I wish there was
cool.
though.
Is that in Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess
But
they
look, the
do.
guys that
Yeah,
he's
they're
like,
using
"Ooh."
VR.
Now
Like,
that we
yeah.
have Oculus, can't we make that?
Make that game.
God, you could.
Man,
I'll
did
make
you guys
that.
see that the Oculus? I don't have a ton to say about this, but I was just kind of surprised that now, being a company owned by Facebook, Oculus has announced that you'll basically need like roughly a $1,500 PC to like properly drive an Oculus headset. And I just thought that was a
not
crazy
see that,
thing.
yeah.
Like,
Wow.
for a technology that is like that has been acquired by like a company that basically their whole identity is being a
Yeah.
thing that they want everyone on the planet.
That's also
use.
for like the Rift, though, right? Because the first Oculus branded product that actually went out was an Android phone glued to a headset that anyone can just experience VR
Really?
in.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the
Is that a
experience.
supported thing that there's currently development for, or what?
I have no idea who's using it, but Oculus
Okay.
put it out.
Oh,
because-
yeah.
Because
No, it's a thing.
Google is competing with their cardboard thing, which is that, right? I mean, that's just
yeah.
like that. Their thing is actually that. So the two kind of like
Well, this is like
biggest-
this Oculus one, the Oculus Samsung one actually has like the lenses that are in an Oculus headset and stuff like. Whereas the Google Cardboard one is just like split your eyes onto
Right.
two
Right.
screens.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is like the real one that Oculus has been aiming for years, right? This headset
Yeah.
is the one that is the DK1, DK2
Yeah.
crystal,
which I guess is just like it's
code or
inevitable that's
whatever.
this because as you say they've been moving towards it for years. It's just I guess I'm not bringing this up because I think it's necessarily bad. Like it's the people who've been excited about Oculus for years. Like this is the thing that they want. It just makes me wonder what the like
because you're gonna have
path
to wait
for this is.
It's like 3-4 years before anything catches up with this. Like it's years before before you could make a self-contained headset that would have that kind of hardware inside
Right.
of it.
Yeah.
That said, apparently the tech specs for the Valve Vive are way more extreme even than Oculus because I
man.
think that Valve is like you have to do 90 FPS in this thing at 1080p per
Yeah.
display or something.
wow.
So it's like
Oh.
you're like I don't remember those numbers are probably not the correct numbers. Sorry, people,
Right.
don't hold me
You're
to
just
those.
saying that there's
but
a
it's
high
like
standard.
No.
it's a
Yeah.
number that that I remember hearing Valve listed for what they recommended for a Vive game, and people just went
Damn.
because it's like the final Oculus display pixel density is way higher than it was when they even
Right.
than
Oh,
DK,
yeah,
even than DK2
definitely.
I think,
Yeah.
but the Vive I think is even more extreme as far as their like the like pixel density and resolution per eye, which just means I don't know. Gotta have a sick PC. Gotta have a sick rig. I am recording from a microphone that's on top of 2 motherboard boxes, so
That's true.
everyone
Yeah.
knows how I game, and
Everyone
it's
knows
with
how
like
sick your
5-year-old
rig is.
motherboards. Apparently. Yeah.
Well, no, one of those
Stacked
is
on
one of
top
those
of each other.
One of those is a graphics card featuring Twin Frozer 2 fan technology.
And as we know, Twin
Frozer.
Frozer 2 is out of control.
old news. They're up to Twin Frozer 5 now.
Yeah, we were really getting
Quad
into
Frozer.
like some.
It's still only Twin
Quad
Frozers.
Frozer.
No, only
Yeah,
only the 2.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But I mean,
they're
you can
pretty
SLI it for a Quad Frozer 5,
Oh,
or I mean,
okay.
maybe it's a Quad Frozer 10. I don't know how that goes.
Quad
yeah.
Frozer.
Diminishing returns, Jake.
That's like a Blade Runner name.
Go to Hard OCP to find out.
Motherboard names are so
So you guys want to do some
control,
read
annoying.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Motherboard names are so stupid and just fucking garbage. Stop
bad.
calling them P8Z77-V Pro. Fuck
Not
off.
the fucking pleb version.
Yeah, right.
So Aaron Broder writes, "Hey Thumbs, this is a few weeks late, but I thought I'd share my experience with being someone with buds in a bud-based economy." So this is a TF2 email, I guess. "At some point a few years ago, I made my Steam profile public so my friends could find me easier. I was almost immediately assaulted by a daily barrage of people trying to buy my buds. I'm not a heavy TF2 player, pun not intended, but I decided to soldier on and keep my buds just in case I wanted them for later. My responses to the people spying my buds varied, from immediately shutting down to engineering a situation where I pretended I didn't know what they were talking about, to see how long they would pretend that they were actually scouting for friends before they went for the kill." Okay, this guy's fucking pun
This is
nonsense
amazing.
is actually
Yes.
interrupting my ability to focus on his actual story, which is that people keep hitting him up for buds all the goddamn time. So anyway, he says, "Once, though, as soon as someone messaged me, I immediately pretended that I was trying to buy their buds. I used every line anyone had ever used on me before, trying to play the part of an interested buyer. They were incredibly confused and eventually blocked me. A few days later, someone else messaged me on Steam saying they were friends with the original, laughing and complimenting me on my prank. Then they tried to buy my buds. My Steam profile is now private, Aaron."
Oh,
That's like the when you pick up the phone saying I want to order a pizza. That's
Yeah.
basically what's going on here. Except if you only got called by people trying to order pizzas every day of your life. I guess that's what you do if your number ends up being one off from the pizza place. When my phone number when I grew up was one off from the like horse race track
That's a weird
in
one.
our like county
Do
or
people
whatever.
keep trying to place bets on horses?
People would call in for that racetrack all the time. Every summer, basically.
Man.
It was just a disaster. Yeah.
So, I don't know if you saw, but Captain Invictus, the guy who wrote all the crazy
Yeah.
Haberman emails, wrote us an email
Okay.
on May 20th. It just says Hat Chat, and it's an update to the state of Team Fortress
chat.
Hat World. I don't know if we want to get into it or not.
I mean, I'm never not down for Hat Chat. You want me to
All
read
right.
Hat Chat, or you want to read it?
You can read it if you want.
Sure. Let's see. Okay, so he writes,
It's a heavy hat update. Not a heavy pun. God, that guy's last email ruined everything.
Yeah.
I just mean that it's a long-ass hat chat.
Are you guys down for long-ass hat
Let's
chat?
do long-ass hat chat.
All right. Captain Invictus writes, "Hey Thumbs, it's the Captain again. A lot has gone on in the world of TF2 trading. There was a significant market crash out of nowhere on April Fool's Day. As alluded to by prior emails from other folks, things are a little bit on fire. A lot of people have been like, what happened? Why would it crash overnight? But in reality, it's been happening in slow motion for the last 8 or so months. One of the obvious realizations that TF2 is approaching 10 years of age at this point, and thus people will eventually move on to other games. Dota and CSGO are the big ones. Multiple other factors entered into play. I'll try to list what I've observed as reasons it began its decline. The introduction of Stranges, which track various statistics on a given item, and Killstreak kits, which enable items to activate special glows and effects depending on the type. Professional Killstreak activates various eye special effect glows, like fire, lightning, etc., and Specialized Killstreak activates sheens on weapons, emerald, golden, violet, and such. These made some items desirable, while others floundered in response. Genuine and vintage items have no special attributes outside of item name color, and so with the introduction of Killstreak and Strange items, these have drastically fallen by the wayside. Vintage weapons once net 50 cents or more each for even the least desired ones, whereas now across the board, save 1 or 2 exceptions, they yield only 3 to 4 cents after a sale. This is because they don't do anything special, while Stranges do. Same goes for genuines. Even the most garbage genuine hat would go for $1 or more, whereas now most are 30 cents or less. Stranges...
comment on capitalism. It just feels like a weird, like, Sneetches.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
just like, it's like
Yeah,
a very
you're right.
strange,
Yeah.
Seuss tale going on.
Stranges, uniques, genuines, and vintages.
It's just it's like
Even
very...
the most genuine garbage hat, or whatever it was.
Yeah. Stranges of cosmetics started appearing a while ago as well, which caused a bunch of formerly valuable cosmetics to become less desired. However, Valve put some patchwork fixes for those in the terms of kits that allow you to strangify non-strange cosmetics. God! The player base is still strong, with peaks of 78,000 players being recorded recently. Very impressive for such an old game. However, I've seen, as I have talked to customers, that there's been a significant shift from high-tier items to more middle-of-the-road or basic items. There's not many people looking for $1,000 unusuals anymore, but lots of folks seem to be happy just getting any unusual, even a crappy one. This has resulted in unusual pricing sites becoming wildly out of date with their prices. In my experience, most of them sell for half or less of the supposed values. Such is the danger of an unmoderated economy. It could collapse at any moment. So the earbud crash. On April Fool's Day, Brad Pitt, the guy who runs the largest item pricing site for
Naturally.
announced he was delisting earbuds as the de facto form of high-tier currency and switching to a system based on keys, since they have a much more stable value. Earbuds have been declining for a while, both because of lessened demand and the injection of hundreds of duped earbuds into the economy all at once, causing a glut that caused a bit of a panic price drop in the community. Earbuds, which at their high point yielded upwards of $45 to $50 each, are now down to $9.50 on the Steam Marketplace as of this email. The Steam Marketplace. It has created plenty of opportunity for people, but has also allowed people who couldn't give half a shit about the economy, but happen to have valuable items to dump them for irrationally low prices, which sometimes can cause a cascade effect when someone undercuts that price. The end of the line update. Last fall, Valve introduced a community-created update called the End of the Line update, which included a fan-made movie and a crapload of cosmetics. The thing is, they included too many cosmetics, and they introduced even more in the following months. In the original days when they first introduced cosmetics, they included 1-2 tops per class per update. Many updates nowadays include dozens of new cosmetics, which creates a diluting effect and makes people less likely to want to catch them all when there's too many new things coming out too quickly. It's a catch-22 because there's really a ton of amazing new stuff being created every day in the Steam Workshop. I can't blame them for wanting to include more of it. The new unusual effects suck, and there are too many of them. They've been putting in new unusual effects that are frankly kind of terrible. A lot of the time, people straight up say they don't want an unusual with a newer effect. There's some good ones, of course, but most of them are bland or just weird, and there's way too many limited edition ones. 1 or 2 unusuals show up with a special effect, and then whoops, it's gone forever, and those are the only 2 that'll ever exist. Too many special snowflakes, and it makes them all less desirable because they're not as special anymore, when suddenly everyone can have a different special snowflake. Valve gave up on their idea to retire hats. I didn't even know that was a thing.
What?
They started a new idea, retiring older hats to limit the supply, and abruptly stopped after the first one. The first run of hats are now no longer obtainable in any form. The ones that exist are it, and no more will drop, which is a great idea to keep things moving. There's still more than enough available, tens if not hundreds of thousands of each, so if you really want to get one, they're very much possible to get. But they back down from doing any more because they can't sell them in the store anymore? Who knows? They become marketable once they're retired, so the person who originally created the hat still gets a cut. I've talked to folks who work or worked on TF2 in the past about the various aspects of the economy, but have never been able to penetrate their methodology when it comes to running the TF2, Dota, or CSGO economies. I definitely feel they should talk to some of the folks who are neck deep in this stuff to get a better understanding of things. Also, please at least one of you try out Axiom Verge. I recall someone mentioned it a while back, but I think it got lost in the shuffle, and then it came out on Steam a little bit ago and got lost in the shuffle. It debuted the same day as the Capcom sale began, and combined with the Witcher hype, eclipsing everything by that point, resulted in Axiom Verge getting bumped off the front page of Steam within half a day. Oh. It deserves better. I reviewed it on Steam, gave it a 10 out of 10, and hopefully one of you will have time to give it a go. It's an incredible experience, and all the more so due to it being developed mechanically, audibly, and visually by a single guy over the course of 5 years. Thanks for giving it consideration.
I've actually played a bunch more of Axiom.
Oh,
Verge,
cool. Yeah, what do you think?
It is really good. I'm really enjoying it.
Nice.
I said before, like, I didn't play Metroid or any kind of Metroidvania stuff as a kid or anything, so I don't. The nostalgia aspect of it isn't really there for me in the same way.
Yeah.
But even so, like, I've played games similar enough that it's really nice to, I know what I'm doing. It feels good to play, and it's fun to play kind of a basic shooting Metroidvania game. It's really cool.
Nice.
It's got all these kind of weird glitchy effects as the game progresses that kind of mess with the formula. I wouldn't know really, but I'm guessing at these things. Like the game itself is kind of glitching, and you can kind of like use weapons to glitch through walls and stuff like that.
That doesn't sound like an actual thing that was in Metroid.
Yeah, right. I assume not, but it's good. I played it up until the point where it started to just be really fucking hard in my face, and I went and played something else for a bit. But I really want to go back to it.
Yeah,
it is good.
Cool.
Yes.
I just want to point out in that letter something that amused me, which was that TF2 or whatever is 10 years old, and so people are starting to play it less, and instead are playing Counter-Strike, which is like double that.
And Dota, which is
another
more
20-year-old as well, basically.
The thing that amuses me about that is it just feels so reflective of what Valve is to me now. Like where I would be excited about Team Fortress 2 when it was announced in the run-up to it, playing it for the first 2 years, and that to me is the same effect that I think people have when they read an article about EVE Online. And they go, oh, that's interesting, but there's no fucking way I'm going to get in any of that
now,
shit.
Team Fortress 2 exists in like the EVE space.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little different because you can still sign onto a Team Fortress server, just click on the soldier, and shoot guys.
Kind of. Except that I feel repelled by it now because there is so much to it.
It has crossed
stuff
over even for me at this point where like there were years where even though there were items galore, I could still play and be like, it's a payload map, I know that I should push the cart. Or like it's a capture the flag map. But now like I also find that servers are modded and have enough color and weird shit in the UI on top of the multiple layers of stuff, on top of like weird sound packs, and it's just like it feels like you're entering a different world that then has Team Fortress 2 hidden way inside of it.
It was probably the best thing for the game, I guess, but at the same time, it bums me out because I feel like
it's also, I guess, what happens when it has tens of thousands of players still, but it doesn't seem like it's catering to new players in any capacity at all. It's catering to those same people who are coming in again and again and again, and getting more hats, and now selling the hats to each other, I guess.
Yeah, all of it makes
very
sense, but it's not. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I feel it bums me out a little bit.
It's such a strange thing. I mean, we've definitely talked about this in the past with games that are that live only online, essentially. But what a strange thing! Like when you think about the concept of posterity in the context of something like TF2 or a lot of MMOs, like
World of Warcraft, I feel like is. If you wanted to even load up World of Warcraft and play through the first few like zones or whatever, they've gone back and redesigned all of that stuff now. Yeah. It doesn't live anywhere other than like in a Blizzard hard drive somewhere at this point. You can't go back and do it. It's kind of, I don't know, it bums me out. Like I wish
if Blizzard keeps functioning like mirrors, because they must they must pull a full mirror of a server when they update, which means that they could probably roll back in source control, build an executable, and run it. Yeah. But like. The thing people bring up MMOs as an example of that, which I guess is probably more tragic to those who play MMOs, but I always expect an MMO to be like
constantly evolving.
I'm actually disappointed in MMOs that remain static and that don't change, because to me the whole point of an MMO should be that it is a living world that continues to evolve over time.
Yes, and there's also it's ripe for oral histories and things like that, where people can talk about the way the world used to be, and it actually has some relevance, whereas that doesn't really mean anything in TF2.
In Team Fortress 2, it feels like it's just like it started with a game that was meant to be a game. Like, I mean, we've talked about this. Everyone who says anything negative about Team Fortress 2 at this point says this, is that Team Fortress 2 started off as an incredibly clean, pure, visually designed, like, slick, competitive multiplayer game that, like, had the sort of twitch mechanics of like a Quake 1, 2, 3 early Unreal Tournament style thing, and now it has the crazy meta insanity of like an MMO or a free to play game or something. I mean, it is a free to play game.
But the difference between the way that TF2 has evolved and the way an MMO has evolved is that an MMO, at least, a well-maintained MMO, like I assume World of Warcraft.
I think you're
trying.
I think you're making a similar argument to what I'm making. I'm not sure though. I'm saying
probably
the way that's happened in Team Fortress is unnatural and bolted on, whereas it feels like an MMO.
Right.
It's part of its DNA.
Yes, I mean I think we agree. I'm going to phrase it differently, which is that an MMO changes in the sense that the world literally changes or grows and expands, whereas in TF2 the world essentially stays the same. It just gets more stuff is in it. Like it's just it's not like, remember when in this world it was like this? Just remember when there was fewer things. Like it's just like
but I would make the argument though that MMOs are in the same vein. Like I feel like,
but if they're literally redesigning zones, that's like the world actually just straight up changes.
Yeah, but it's not consistent with its, like when you're talking about like the clean feeling of TF2 vanilla. Like that's the thing that I lament about World of Warcraft, because I feel like there was a clean version of World of Warcraft that was actually pretty consistently designed.
Fair enough.
I actually think World of Warcraft is maybe cleaner now than it was when it began in terms of a lot of its systems.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
They've
No, I mean
they've honed back like a ton of the in-depth weird shit and made it cleaner and more friendly and more accessible.
Being onboarded into World of Warcraft at this point is the slickest fucking experience you've ever had, whereas being onboarded into Team Fortress 2, despite the fact that the main menu has 16 pages of stuff.
I'm just talking about pure world design for me. Like it just ugh. I don't know. I'm not going to talk about World of Warcraft. I dove back into it like a year ago just to see like whenever the latest expansion came out.
Well, wait for a World of Warcraft player to tell you that you haven't played it in the last year and you don't know anything.
I don't know. We got
They introduced the Clean World update, in which the world was cleaned.
Because I know Team Fortress 2 did a huge main menu update, and which was now like 4+ years ago, and the goal was to get people away from the like Steam server browser as the default way to get into Team Fortress 2. But instead, for me, it now just makes everything even more obfuscated, because it's like, play a game with some people.
Yep.
Just kidding, in your fucking face. You're on a server that has an Unreal sound pack, and you have to pay 3 coins to unlock a glow in your name in chat. And like, Jesus, like, how is that?
God.
Like,
and then contrary to that, I loaded up Quake Live the other day, and it was just Quake 3, and I was really happy. I was like, this is just there's like quad damage thing, and this is the map I know. All right, I'm good.
I have never played an MMO in my life. I'm like the one person who writes about games for a living who's never played an MMO.
I haven't played many. I really, World of Warcraft is the only one that I put any significant amount of time into.
You had your 6-month affair with WoW.
You had your time. Yeah.
Yep. And I've played like a couple hours of several other MMOs, but not past. Certainly never past like the initial free month, because I just never felt that. None of the ones I ever played after World of Warcraft felt as complete as that, and so I just kind of got bored, I guess.
That's fair enough.
Here's an email from Michael Mariano addressed to Jake. What is the difference between Baby Bowser and Bowser Jr.? Baby Bowser is the child version of Bowser and the villain of Yoshi's Island. Bowser Jr. is Bowser's son and the villain of Super Mario Sunshine. But they look identical, so their subsequent appearances in Mario games confuse me. How do you tell the difference? A recent NeoGAF thread called Let's Clear Up the Confusion on Baby Bowser and Bowser Jr. tried to help, but I don't think it did. Which one is your favorite? Mike.
Oh, Baby Bowser obviously is the superior one, because Yoshi's Island is a great game, and Bowser Jr. is just like biting that style. Bowser Jr. Fuck Bowser Jr.
Doesn't Baby Bowser usually have a bib? And Bowser Jr. does not typically have a bib.
I think that is one. I think something like that.
Is that one of the things that was one of the main arguments?
It's basically the same character design, though. I guess Bowser.
Pretty similar, yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
Right to Doug.
Baby dinosaur would look the same.
Okay, the real reason also that Baby. Bowser
Jr. has a bandana. Bowser Jr. has a bandana. That's what you're thinking of.
That's what it
Bowser
is.
Jr. also sucks, because Bowser Jr. is Bowser's second fucking secret family, because Bowser already had the Koopa kids.
That's right.
So what's he doing having Bowser Jr.?
Yeah,
what about his other family?
Yeah, right.
He's a villain, Jake.
Who is his mom?
I don't know.
Oh, no, it's not.
Well, Bowser
Peach,
Jr. looked exactly like Bowser as a kid, so apparently Bowser has just discovered how to reproduce asexually.
That's what it is.
Bowser Jr.
Like in Jurassic Park.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Life found a way, and Bowser Jr. showed up.
DNA.
Bowser spliced himself with
Nick, your
frog
experiments.
That's what it was.
Yeah, it's
all Nick's fault.
That's why he can jump so high as a
The
dinosaur.
electricity running through my SNES and then up the wire and then loading onto a Nintendo server and then 10 years
You
later.
accidentally had a rare, like, collector's edition debug Super Nintendo that actually had a modem plugged into that expansion port.
This is
Right.
just the plot of an 80s movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It really
I
is.
can see the purple lightning and everything.
It sure is.
Oh, man, yeah.
Okay, let's see. What else do we have here?
What's the name of the advisor in SimCity Super Nintendo? It's just like Dr.
advisor?
SNES or something.
It's Dr. Wright.
Dr. Wright. Oh, because there's a
It's Will
reference to
Wright.
Will Wright. Yeah.
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 Looks like a little
I like the
troll
idea of
with
you
the
doing this
hair.
thing and then Dr. Wright just showing up saying, no. No.
What have you done?
Bad, like, low frame rate screen shake as Dr. Wright says that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, someone linked...
The
Okay,
screen
so,
is now black and white.
so Jonathan Decker wrote in an email whose subject line was "Connect for a head." And he says, "Sup, Thumb Crew, saw this tweet go past my Twitter feed and immediately thought robot news. Yes, this humanoid robot simply has an Xbox One Kinect for a head. Cheers, John Decker." And this just looks like... It just looks
God.
like a little fucking guy with, like,
Oh, God.
crazy claw hands or something.
It's a Kinect head.
The robot is called Thor, Tactical Hazardous Operations
Of
Robot.
course it is.
Classic backronym there.
Yeah. Okay, yes. A collaboration between UCLA and UPenn. Team Thor is developing Thor RD, Thorard, for Thor rapid development.
Oh, I thought it was Thor Rapid Deployment, which would be way
Yeah.
scarier.
Oh, it is rapid deployment. You're right.
Oh, shit.
An advanced humanoid robot designed for disaster relief scenarios. This is always what they say.
Yeah.
First,
I like
the
this.
other robots create the disasters. These robots actually just carry the other robots out from amidst the human waste that they create.
Did you see the other crazy robot news that was this week? Jake, 3
cheetah?
robots were announced. Yeah.
3?
There were 3. The cheetah was one of the 3 robots and the least crazy of the robots.
That was the least
Well, the
crazy.
cheetah has existed for a while, but now the cheetah
Yeah.
can
Now
jump
the cheetah can
over.
That's
it can
fine.
run hurdles,
Including,
basically.
like, when they just toss hurdles in front of it at random, it
Yeah.
will, like,
Oh my God.
successfully jump over them perfectly.
Okay, but did you see the origami robot?
No?
Is this a robot that folds
Holy
origami or a robot that is made of origami?
It's a flat...
David
okay, the
Cage.
video, this is crazy. It's a flat sheet of metal looking thing with like circuit boards on it. They put it down. It folds itself into a robot
No.
and then just like vibrates away and walks around. And the video, it shows it like digging through like obstacles, climbing human skin.
Oh my God.
Like going up someone's arm like meh. Right, and then also dissolving in a certain solution, like it's just like, and now it's gone. Basically, like a classic assassin robot
Imagine
thing.
imagine when the fucking Thor, which has a Kinect for a head, also has a fucking Epson printer in its chest. And it just prints out sheets that kind of like
Then-
fall to the ground.
They become little
fold themselves up into robots, and it's just this army
and then the robots come back to it, and its mouth just sort of pours
acid.
pours acid to dissolve it, and then a cheetah jumps in and leaps away holding it, so there's no trace that anything ever happened.
Okay, what was the third robot?
The third
Oh,
one.
it wasn't the Kinect for a head
The
robot?
third one was some kind of crazy accurate robot. The use of which
all that.
was for catching fruit flies, specifically by the thorax, which is like they said it was like trying to hit a moving target the size of a full stop. Or a period, whatever you want to call it. And so it just shines a bit of light and it goes bam and just picks up a fly that's moving around a thing. And they were like, yeah, this could do brain surgery if you wanted to. It's crazy accurate. Bam! This could bang!
Inside your brain right now.
Botanize a target moving up to 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, they were all like, I think from MIT or I don't know. There must have been some kind of robot con or something.
I have
that-
personally
Robot
controlled
jam.
a robot at MIT with a Kinect for a head. It's not the same as this robot, but I have personally like used a computer to issue commands to a big fucking huge robot who with a
Wait, you were living the original Xbox E3 demo?
What?
Of like that woman on the platform who like does moves and then a huge Xbox colored robot does moves behind her? No one remembers the original Xbox press conference? Man, back when the Xbox was announced as just a chrome X with a green circle in the middle of it, and it had like it was the dawn of like the most out of control lie real time rendered tech demo, and it was like smoke everywhere on the ground and just like a woman. It was a CG humanoid woman in like a tank top and like VR gloves and boots
Oh my
does
God,
crazy
yeah.
dance moves or like just like, you know, combat like punches and stuff, and then like the light reveals behind her that there's a huge robot that's also doing all these same moves, and they were like, this could be rendered on an Xbox. Man, no one remembers
I
that.
vaguely remember
do.
that. Once you said she was a cartoon, like she's a rendered thing. I
Oh man, because
vaguely
then
remembered like the tank girl. Thing,
I know this
kinda,
because
like, running around.
when the box art for Titanfall came out, I photoshopped that woman onto it in replace of the guy, and was like Titanfall for Xbox, and no one knew what I was
Oh.
talking about.
I remember that.
I
I
was
saw
so
that, and
sad.
I didn't know what you were talking
like,
about.
that was one of those things that everyone remembered and made fun of for like 2 years, and then
Right.
just promptly forgot. I
Right.
guess, except me.
Because it was never recapitulated in anything.
I know that stupid robot never came back. What a missed opportunity.
Well, this was a real robot that I controlled. A big, actual, like,
Yeah, so you
probably
were-
multiple
Neck for a head.
ton weighing
yeah,
robot.
you were living the Xbox.
Why did it have a
techno.
Kinect for a head?
Because it was just a really useful way to just get data that it could feed into the brain.
sensory data.
Yeah, I mean,
The robot
like,
brain.
I mean, for the same reason they put one on this Thor thing. You know, apparently it works for that.
I mean, it works better for that than playing video games, probably.
So Thor, yeah, man, poor Kinect.
Bird.
Remember when
Sorry.
Kinect was the center of your
Sick
Xbox
burn.
One universe? So Thor rapidly deploys and saves people, like when a flood happens
Yeah,
or something.
but if you
Iron
do
Man
just
destroys
dance
them.
in front of it, then it shuts down.
The human form allows for the use of
that's
human
our
tools
secret
and
weapon as
mechanisms.
humans because we have creativity and we have dance moves. So
Yeah.
that's how we defeat
It just
the
like
robots.
it just goes
yeah.
into like debug mode. And
Sorry,
then
yeah,
just,
what
like,
is what is
fucks
what
up.
is Thor for?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so
What is Thor for?
Thor RD's humanoid form is ideal for the human-centric environments encountered in disaster areas.
Human-centric
The form allows-
environments.
The form allows for the use of human tools and mechanisms, like weapons, to aid in the completion of the objective at hand. Team Thor, this is one of only 6 projects being funded by DARPA just at this school.
Jesus.
Just at this, research center or whatever.
Because a Kinect for a head is good, but I do now. Strange, this government rescue robot's having trouble rescuing the black people.
Oh, no.
Oh God!
That was such an amazing, depressing news story when the Xbox One came out, and it was just like, doesn't detect black people, so we'll just have
Yeah.
fewer black celebrities demoing it on nighttime TV and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, that's some bullshit.
Oof.
Poor, yeah.
Anyway, whatever. If there's actually a version of this that's made for sure, it would have it like a military grade headset on, like the kind you'd find in like a pro PC rig.
Yes, it would have the same Kinect, but it would have
have
like
that, yeah.
the camo version that you got.
Yeah, and the camera would
from
be bigger.
GameStop or whatever.
And would cost like $200,000.
No.
Let's see. Okay, so what else do we have in here? We have Paul Batsing. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong because there's an accent in that name. He writes, Dear Thumbs, in your last episode you discussed people who only play one game, more or less, and your thoughts on their motivations. I and a friend who is a psychologist have had a lot of discussions on why people play video games, and here are some thoughts I wanted to share. Well, I think it is right that people play simply to pass time, I think he means. The way people play games...
He means the iOS game is simpler.
The way people play games, like the Windows 10 included Candy Crush. Is that included in Windows 10?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So they get you.
Has another
This is a
dynamic.
sponsored email. Sorry, who sent this?
Microsoft.
Paul Batsing from Oslo. He says, anyway,
Home of Microsoft.
the way people play games like Candy Crush and their derivatives has another dynamic. It feels exactly like work, and clearing levels can somehow give players the feeling that they've accomplished something. Especially games like Candy Crush, which have a practically infinite number of levels that are getting more all the time, are handing you a list of tasks, a clearly defined condition for success, and enough of a challenge so that it takes you some time to progress. In Candy Crush's later levels, it can take up to 100 lives to clear a level, even with perfect play, because you need a certain setup that only appears rarely. Since the level numbers that get higher and higher, the player perceives progress. When you make the levels too easy or give the player too many or infinite lives, the progression feels shallow and the game boring. There was recently an article on Kotaku about the 3DS version of Puzzle Quest that made the same point. The same can be said about any game, especially the grinding parts, but in mobile games this is driven to extremes. And since nobody ever can really finish games that provide new levels every month, it is much easier to only play these, as you already have so much effort in your already have invested so much effort in your virtual accomplishments. Anyway, thanks for a great podcast. It has helped me tremendously through a difficult phase of depression last year. Greetings, Paul Batsing from Oslo. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty accurate.
Makes a lot of sense.
I don't know if
get
it's
that
fair to say that games just simulate success, because I think success in a game is still success.
If it's success in your mind,
And failure is still failure.
that's right.
So if you don't beat a game, you're a big failure.
You're fired from your job.
Well, you pay games for the privilege, not the other way around.
True.
Who's the customer?
Think
Games.
about that now.
Sam Rosenberry writes, too much information about childhood LARPing. Hello, Thumbs.
Excellent.
Go on.
I was listening to old episodes while waiting for today's episode to upload. That feels really sad when I write it out. And I came upon a section of one episode where a reader wrote in about hearing some elementary schoolers LARPing Minecraft. I thought it was funny that there would be such a reaction to that idea, but then it occurred to me just how weird my childhood must have been compared to everyone else who's ever had a childhood. I am 17, just as a point of reference. Anyway, what I was remembering was that when we used to play little imagination games, like every group of kids does, we called it RPG. I was introduced to the term by some older kids, and I didn't actually know what RPG stood for until 3 years after I started using it on a daily basis. Anyway, most games we played had very structured and upgrade-based leveling curves, i.e. in a stick fight, you do something cool and get to level 2, where you get the ability to wield dual sticks. I expressly remember the term akimbo sticks. Finally, I remember that every time we would have Nerf gun fights, we would reconcile the fact that some people had lost all their darts by playing one-in-the-chamber rounds of Nerf fight. And the strangest part of all this is that it was all part of my life long before video games were. I live in a hippie-type town, and roughly 50% of my friends didn't have TVs, and as far as I know, nobody in my close circle of friends even had video games. I didn't have any games until I got a Wii for my 10th birthday, and I didn't really get into video games until around the time TF2 came out on Mac. So I'm not sure where I'm not sure where all of our video game references came from. My whole childhood was just emulating video games, and I just assumed until I was 14 that these were things we had come up with. It's really strange. Love from a loyal reader, Sam Rosenberry. P.S. One of my most vivid coming-of-age type memories was talking at a sleepover with my 11-year-old friends about how we should structure a level progression for the loss of our virginities, and very contentious arguments about how many levels different sexual experiences should net you. The more I think about these things, the more it occurs to me that this might be common, but my friends might just be weird as fuck.
Fuck baseball analogies, video games analogies.
Yeah.
True. Oh, man, yeah.
Stage
That's
2,
amazing.
3.
New Game Plus.
Oh, God, okay. Remember when, when he was talking about how like 11-year-olds said this, then we all started talking about it?
This it weirdly unlocked a memory that I had of like
Like a memory unlocked. God, I got a good laugh out of you there. That was depressing.
What did it unlock?
It's not a great story or anything, but just like stupid shit that I would do with my friends that was video game related, using video games that I had no relation to. Like I never played these games or anything, but people would like take. It was almost like they were emulating like Smash Brothers before Smash Brothers was a thing. Like they would take like characters from games, like the artist, like whoever was like good at drawing, would just like in a spiral notebook draw like 20 different Nintendo characters or like just characters from games, and then we would assign statistics to those characters, and then we would like have like a bracket, and then people would like bet on like who was gonna beat the other character, and then there would be like die rolls and this whole system that like was created around like essentially just fucking what Smash Brothers does in like 5 seconds. Anyway.
But you did like turn-based dice roll Smash.
Yeah, it was like 1v1 Smash Bros. Yeah, it's weird. Anyway, kids are
It's
weird.
like
Kids are dumb and
Smash
weird.
Brothers Manager is basically
Yeah,
what you did.
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what that was.
I feel like there's this very weird. I feel like kids will do this in many, many ways, but I was less influenced by sort of rules-based games than I was by sort of the marketing of games. Like I would make up entire like marketing campaigns in my mind.
Yes. You missed your calling.
Awesome.
What are you doing?
I don't know. I mean, I couldn't do it now, but like when I was a kid, I think I just was so influenced by like, oh, it would be really cool if you get this that looks like. I didn't know the term branding, but it would have been branding on your shirt when you play the football game, and then you'd be I don't know. It's really bizarre. Maybe I'm much weirder than this kid.
I was really inspired by
this is what I was thinking about.
I was really inspired by magazine ads from games. So like the game I used to play was just doing like super extreme poses where I would like hold a game towards someone's face.
Yes.
While like squishing a bug into the screen.
And saying something about boobs.
Yeah, talk about boobs.
Yeah.
I would have been too embarrassed to talk about boobs.
Yeah.
Man, my friends and I had a period of a couple years in elementary school where we played what we called telling games, which are basically just like RPGs without rules. And I'd never heard of RPGs. I didn't ever grow up playing like Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that.
So is it just like a narrative DMing, basically?
Yeah, exactly. And it was also introduced to us by like older kids at our elementary school.
But I bet they played like sex versions, the older kids.
They played
Probably.
the sex game.
But it was
Cursing.
The dick pic version.
They played the Cobra Club.
it was just like, you're walking down the beach, like you come across this, what do you do? Except none of us were consistent enough in our imagination to ever keep it from just going off the rails instantly.
That's what's fun about that, though. So whatever.
true.
I mean,
yeah.
at least you didn't have friends who were like, I do nothing.
No, I don't think that happened.
because
you know,
your
like,
game is
yeah,
stupid. I'm going home. Yeah.
The premise is invalid.
Was that you?
No, that's a guy who
The premise
exists.
is invalid, says 10-year-old you.
Yeah.
There are kids like that who have no imagination. They're no fun.
Or who have, who are more clever than they are
Robots,
imaginative.
Yeah,
that's
they're
right.
not thinking up marketing campaigns in their
Yeah,
heads.
exactly. I
No,
sold
they're
an
thinking of
entire,
employing people to think of marketing campaigns
Yeah.
for them, and they will.
I sold an entire season of a weird football kind of game in my head when I was like 9. I don't know why. Anyway.
Collusion fantasies.
Yes.
I remember when
There are marketing people who are just, when they were 10, they dreamed of writing articles.
Yeah. It's like,
That is
this how it
definitely
all
true.
ended up.
That probably is true.
Yes.
I remember in junior high when I learned the concept of an RPG, like a pen and paper RPG, but I'd still never played one, and I don't even know if I ever did. Maybe once ever. There's again just not a thing that I ever actually like interacted with. But for some reason, despite that, when I learned about it, I decided I should like make one myself. And the only thing
Excellent.
I just knew like little bits about what an RPG was, like little tiny. Again, I'm talking about pen and paper ones. I'm sure I had played like a few minutes of Final Fantasy on like a friend's SNES or something. I don't know. But I remember I called it. I knew that they all had these like not all, but as far as I was aware, they all had acronyms where each letter stood for an attribute type. Like charisma and strength, and all those
or whatever,
ones.
yeah,
Right.
You mean cha and strur.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And I don't know where I got this. It's baffling to me that I like managed to obtain this knowledge without like owning any of them or playing any of them ever. And so I made up my own system called Big Wars, which was an acronym, and I don't even remember what the letters stood for. I'm sure the S stood for strength. W probably stood for wisdom.
Or wizard.
Or wizard.
What's your wizard rating?
A maybe was agility.
Wisdom.
I don't know. I intelligence. I'm just guessing, but I can't remember anything about
Big
it.
Wars.
And I drew all these like maps and stuff for it, and like just made up rules, but I have no idea if any of them have any correspondence to any way that RPG systems work. It was a really strange, and I don't think I even showed it to anyone. I did it all on graph paper, on like dozens of sheets of graph paper, and then I think I just like forgot about it, and that was it. Like it was just like a thing I did where I'm like, oh yeah, I could totally do that.
Yeah.
Said the person who knew
Incomprehensible.
literally nothing about it. Like just right.
That's the great thing about
done.
kids. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know how much you don't know, so you think you know everything, and it's
Right.
kind of great.
Yeah.
My teacher told me to write a story once, and I just wrote a series of letters, and she was like, what is this? And I was like, well, no, each one stands for a word. She was like, oh, okay, read it back to me, asshole. And then I was like, fuck, bluff called.
Wait, you didn't even actually have a story?
I couldn't remember. I mean, I'd written it. It made sense in my head. They all stood for words. I just couldn't remember what the words were.
And thanks for listening, everyone.
The great games of childhood.
God, I had a friend in elementary school, and the two of us spent like, I want to say 4 years of elementary school, 3 or 4 years of elementary school, writing a book that started by copying random passages of like paragraphs, essentially, out of books that we found in the library, and like assembling them into a nonsensical story that we thought was hilarious. We thought this was like the funniest fucking thing that had ever been conceived by human brains. And we wrote it all on just like loose leaf paper, and we would just each write a chapter, and like we would just write chapters all the time and like compile them into this just stack that included probably hundreds of pages over time. And after a certain point, like it started off by being this weird, just appropriated like found art that we combined all these like again, transcribed by hand. This was not like photocopying or scanning or anything. This was like taking a book from the library, opening it to a random page, like finding a paragraph that looked like it would be useful, and then copying it by hand into the thing. And then I think it eventually started morphing into a form where the characters became consistent, even as we were like copying the rest of the sentences out. And then we just started writing it ourselves, like from our own brains, based on the characters and situations that started from this weird, like appropriated quilt of fiction. And it just went on for, just
You're
dozens
a fool
and
for not keeping whatever this was.
I kept it for a long
beautiful.
time. I kept it like through high school, and I think it probably got thrown away when I moved out of my parents' house because
You threw it away right when it would actually be important for you to re-find as an adult.
I know. Well, I remember my dad at one point gave me an ultimatum. He's like, anything that you don't physically take with you in this house, I'm throwing away. And so I think that was one of the things that probably just got thrown away. But it was crazy. And I remember the main character was named Beano because Beano was just happened to be a character in one of the books that we got from the library. And that was one of the names that ended up just sticking around and becoming incorporated into the whole story. And it went on and on and on. And we called it the Big Book of Absolutely, Completely Nothing at All. And it was this crazy project that spanned between 2 and 4 years in elementary school, which for an elementary school student is a long ass time.
That's forever.
Like you're like a different person at the end of those. And the character, as a result of that, the character of the book and like the style of humor was totally different.
I am incredibly depressed that you don't still have this because it's
really
probably
read
garbage,
about
but the novelty value of that existing and the effort that went into it is worth it still existing. So
I am actually really sad about that too, because I remember every few years after, like, in high school, maybe even for a little bit after when I was in college, maybe when I went home, I can't remember when all that stuff got thrown away, but I remember every once in a while I'd go back to it. And like, as you say, it's generally garbage, but every once in a while I would like flip through it and there would be something in it that would actually still crack me up, which is probably says more about me than it does the content. But it was just such an odd artifact that, was such a weird specific thing.
That's so charming.
Yeah. It reminds me of a game that I played. It's not really a game that I played, but a thing that I would do in England in pubs a lot whilst drinking in pubs, which obviously not as a child.
Right.
More recently than that.
When you were 10.
But like in pubs, especially old ones, they have a ton of books on bookshelves. Sometimes, they're there to look cool. No one's fucking reading those books.
Right.
But if we were just hanging around drinking, it's fun to just grab one of those books, leaf through to about 2/3 of the way through, find like the end of an act, and then dramatically read like the last paragraph and then shut the book and put it back. There's some really weird shit that you find in those books. It's awesome.
That's an improv.
I implore you to try it.
Too.
Yeah.
We used to do that.
Yeah.
Your story, this will be super quick, I promise. But
Sure.
Your story reminded me of my very first foray into video game journalism at the age of 8.
Oh, man.
Where I borrowed a bunch of my cousin's Sega magazines, and I didn't have any Sega systems. And it was my intention to copy the best part of the content from those articles and decide what the best games were from these magazines, and then make my own magazine and sell it. And make
nice.
a lot
you
of money.
were being like a publisher/editor.
I was.
And market.
Well, but it was also my own take on everything, because it was like, well, no, that looks stupid, but this looks cool, from like a screenshot and a write-up in a 1992 magazine or whatever.
Yeah.
I was going to be rich. I was going to be filthy rich.
Oh,
because
man,
of this.
that's great.
I had all these get rich
And then you
schemes.
started Polygon.
I think that's a common thing for kids is to like have a business
Gonna make it
idea
all.
that
Yeah.
is nothing, contains no business.
Such a great idea.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that becomes real business these days. Like people that will come and get your washing for you and take it away and do your laundry. Or was that other San
That's
Francisco
true. Those
one?
are
Garbage-
Oh yeah, the garbage
one.
disposal
Yeah.
one.
Trash day.
They're exact things that kids would be like, I'm going to do a business where I'm going to take everyone's garbage out.
Those are all the things that
Because that's a thing that a kid is physically capable of doing.
Yeah. Oh man, I get like $1 for taking the garbage out. What if I did 100 people's garbage?
I'd be rich. I could buy a house. The thing is, there was a tweet recently about that garbage thing, and it was like every app that's like a startup app now is basically something that somebody's mommy did for them when they were growing up, and now it's like, oh, okay.
Well, that
pay
tweet
someone to be my
immediately
mommy.
that tweet
Like,
immediately spawned the parody startup "Here Comes the Airplane," which was "We will put food in your mouth."
excellent.
Startup.
I'd pay for that. maybe.
Well, it's useful. There's a use case for that.
We'll cut the most useful reviews out of your friend's Sega magazines and send you only the best ones, so you know which Sega games are good.
Yeah, Danielle Magazine. It was great.
It was going to be called Danielle Magazine.
Danielle Magazine. Danielle.
You're on
like
the
Elle,
cover
better.
of every
Oh,
issue.
Yeah, it's like
it was
Oprah.
a picture of me playing a Sega game on each one.
You always with a Genesis controller.
Yep, me being
Sometimes the 3 button, sometimes the 6 button.
But it's not plugged into anything because you didn't have a Sega system.
It's just for the photo shoots. It's all the marketing.
Man, you did have a good marketing mind.
Yeah.
I really did. I really did.
All right.
Should we go home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
And on a high note, thank you. For,
Oh,
Thanks
God.
everybody for giving me childhood memories.
If only there was a
Bringing them
startup
back.
that we could get to come and end the podcast for us.
End the podcast with lots of energy.
Yeah.
So we don't have to.
Podcaster with an R. and a
Please
Z.
write us email, actually, at questions@idlethumbs.net. We haven't gotten as much email recently, and that's
you
probably
would think
because
from this episode that we get a lot, but we actually this is a
This is
backlog.
like 3 weeks.
Yeah,
of
yeah. So
email.
please feel free to write us email at questions@idlethumbs.net. Our website is idlethumbs.net/idlethumbs. You can find links to where we put stuff on the internet there. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.